Hey, everybody, back again today with another in our series. Randall Nelson with me. We're doing the number one songs from 1969, our continuing series. We started in 65. We're going all the way up to 75 and only evaluating and ranking the number one songs on the Billboard chart for that year. Randy, how's it going? Pretty good year, 69, huh?
It is a pretty good year. The top seven, I think, were very close to me, and it was hard to pick because I kept changing back and forth. And then there's one song that I think is kind of weaker than the rest of them, but otherwise, yeah, it's a very good year.
Yep, and like we usually do, we're going to count them down. There's 16 songs this particular year that made it to number one. We'll go down in descending order, and then at the end, we'll come up with 5 honorable mentions that never made it to number one, but we kind of like, and I'm going to give a little shout out to 5 different songs from that particular year that did chart, but never made it to number one. So Randy's going to do 16 through 11, then I'll do 16 to 11, and then when we get to the top 10, we'll just go back and forth one at a time. So Randy, what do you got for number 16 through 11?
Well, my number 16 is actually one I kind of have some nostalgia for, because as a 14-year-old, I thought it was kind of cool. Even though it came out before I was 14, that's when I actually bought this album, and that's in the year 2525, Zager and Evans. That's what I went for last. I guess they wrote it in 64, but they didn't, it didn't come out till like 69.
Yeah.
And here in 1969, you got Woodstock, the Vietnam War, Landing on the Moon. And what do you have make number one? This folk rock sci-fi novelty song. It's number one. And written by Danny Yeager and Danny Zager. Yes, Zager and Evans. And Rick Evans.
Rick Evans, yeah.
They never had another number one hit. But at that time, like movies like 2001: Space Odyssey, Planet of the Apes, so it was kind of a big topic around that time. And like I said, when I was a 14-year-old, I thought this was pretty cool song. But if you really start looking into the lyrics, they're pretty silly. It's like, in the year 45, ain't gonna need your teeth, won't need your eyes. You won't find a thing to chew. Nobody's gonna look at you. Come on. They got some of these dramatic strings, and then in the song, is there hope for us in the future? But it's pretty silly, and that's my number 16. All right. So number 15 is one of the bubblegum songs. And there were a couple, or 2 or 3 in this year.
Yeah.
But for some reason, this guy just doesn't appeal to me, because I do like some people like Lou Christie and things like that. But Tommy Rowe, I don't know, he just didn't do anything for me. There was a sameness to some of the songs. And he actually had a bubblegum pop really before it became a thing, because he had a number one hit with Sheila before the Beatles, and then he has a number one hit after the Beatles hit America too, with this song, Dizzy.
Yep.
It's got a great beat. It's got Hal Blaine of the Wrecking Crew, and the Wrecking Crew plays on the album. We got some cool things in the string section. But like I said, it's a little sameness to me, even though there are some complicated musical sections in it. But it's basically, she kisses him and he gets dizzy. I mean, that's the song.
Bottom line.
So that's my number 15. My number 14 is Nah Nah Hey Hey Kiss Him Goodbye by Steam, which isn't really that much of a song. It was written by Paul Lika, who later go on to be a producer for Mercury Records. And he actually co-wrote the Lemon Pipers hit Green Tambourine, and a couple other of his guys, Gary DiCarlo and Dale Frasher. They were in a group called the Chateaus and then the Greenwoods, I guess back in the day, and they were kind of a doo-wop group. And they had written this song back then, and I guess it was supposed to be a B-side, but then they liked the song, and they ended up issuing it, but they issued it as a group called Steam, which didn't really exist. There was no group called Steam. No. And they had, if you've seen the 45 picture sleeve, it's all those people on there, or none of the guys that wrote it, or none of the people that sing on it. And they never had DiCarlo never had another hit, and he always kind of held Lika it against Lika for not helping him when he became a producer until the day he died. But and it was kind of like a Frankenstein monster thing, is that they would took a drum part off another song to put on to add to this song, this nah nah hey hey kiss him goodbye, which it really became more of a thing when the Chicago White Sox announcer played it at a game when the score was out of reach for the other team, and that it kind of became a big thing at sports events more than it is a song. So that's my number 14. And my number 13 is a classical piece, the theme from Romeo and Juliet. It's a cool classical piece of music, but I don't see it as a pop hit, and then maybe I'm being too hard on it. But like I said, instrumentals seem to be really big. There's always like an instrumental hit, even though you had all this rock music going on, and in 1969, it was just and supposedly, it was written for the movie Romeo and Juliet, which Franco Zeffirelli was the director and producer, I think. But it was actually written by Nina Rota, who later did the Godfather music. But his is not the version that became a hit. Henry Mancini took the song and made it, and he made the themes a little grander. But nice, beautiful classical piece. But it's kind of weird that Henry Mancini, this is the song that would hit #1 when he did kind of these popish theme songs like the Pink Panther or the theme show to Mr. Lucky or Peter Gunn and the Baby Elephant Walk, if you've seen the movie Hatari. That's Henry Mancini. But none of those songs hit like this one. So I don't know. And supposedly I heard that Paul McCartney was asked to be in the movie as one of the characters.
Wow.
But I don't know if that's true or not, but that's where I read somewhere. But anyway, that's my number 13, the theme from Romeo and Juliet. And let's see, number 12, Aquarius, Let the Sun Shine from the Fifth Dimension, which comes from the musical Hair. It's counterculture movie about experimenting with drugs, free love, resisting the draft. And who should do the song but probably one of the cleanest cut groups in pop music with the Fifth Dimension. They were not counterculture at all. And they have there's like 5 of them singing into a microphone. I don't know. They put together Aquarius from the musical, and was called the Flesh Failure, which made the Let the Sunshine part. And that they're coming on to a new age where love and understanding's big. You got the Wrecking Crew playing on it. So it's a decent song, but like I said, it's really toned down from what the musical would be. It would be in the musical. So that's my number 12, Fifth Dimension. And number 11 is also the other Fifth Dimension song that was number 1. It's Wedding Bell Blues, Laura Nyro song, who wrote Eli's Coming. It was a hit for Three Dog Night, and When I Die, which was a hit for Blood, Sweat, and Tears. And they'd actually written another hit that was a big hit for Fifth Dimension in Stone Soul Picnic. So they'd done her songs before. You got the 2 main singers, Marilyn McCoo and Billy Davis, who are actually engaged. And I said, "Won't you marry me, Bill?" It was actually in the song, but it wasn't written for them. And she was engaged to Bill. And it's really a showcase for Marilyn McCoo, and I think she does a really good job singing on this song.
Oh yeah.
So it's just my number 11 for this year.
Yep, it's also going to be my number 11. But before we get to that, my number 16, I went with the classical love theme from Romeo and Juliet at number 16, just because it doesn't fit my style of music. I'm more a pop rock kind of guy, and it's well done. Henry Mancini, like you mentioned, from the Zeffirelli film, it actually came out the year before in '68. Also known as A Time for Us, an instrumental. And according to what I have here, it's got Henry Mancini on piano and Hal Blaine on drums. So that's my number 16. 15 is Dizzy by Tommy Rowe. You mentioned he had a history of bubblegum kind of songs. Sheila, Hooray for Hazel, Sweet Pea, Jam Up and Jelly Tight, the legendary song. 4 weeks at number one. So this kind of stuff was selling back then, and he was the master of capitalizing on these kind of songs. Co-written by Freddie Weller, who was a member of Paul Revere and the Raiders, and just pure bubblegum pop. You're So Dizzy and all that stuff. It's just silly. 4 weeks at number one. It's staggering to me. And here's another one at number 14, the Archies, Sugar Sugar. That also spent 4 weeks at number one. This was a creation to capitalize on that bubblegum craze. The comic book, the Archies. There really was no musical group, the Archies. It was a bunch of studio musicians. Ron Dante was the lead vocalist, who also was the vocalist of the Cufflinks, who had a number 9 song called Tracy, another bubblegum pop song from that year. The Archies was a popular show back in the day, and this was a theme. They would play this song a lot in the morning, Saturday morning cartoons, written by Jeff Barry, Andy Kim, who had another recording career of his own. Don Kirshner was the manager of the studio musicians who came up with this formula of pop bubblegum tunes, and that's just one of them. It was a big one though, Sugar Sugar. And obviously you like it more than I do, because I haven't heard it mentioned yet. But it's a catchy song, there's no question about it. In fact, my brother, who's a year and a half younger than myself, he loved that song growing up. So number 13 is In the Year 2525, Zager and Evans. You captured this one well. One hit wonder, sort of a folky, futuristic warning of the dangers of technology and eventual destruction of the human race. Kind of silly lyrics for the most point. And I also wrote down they were capitalizing on the sci-fi movies that were out 2001, Planet of the Apes. They were very much in the public eye at that time, and this is a song that had that same kind of vibe. Number 12, Na Na Hey Hey Kiss 'Em Goodbye by Steam. Pop, one hit wonder, and it, like you said, it's more known for the derision of the other team when they're getting beat on the field. Na 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 na. They're like ushering them out of the field as they walk off. Like, you got your butts beat, get out of here. They were from Bridgeport, Connecticut. The group. There's a xylophone, which is pretty interesting in here too. Just a fun party type song. Na na hey hey, kiss 'em goodbye. And my number 11 is your number 11, Wedding Bell Blues, Fifth Dimension, Laura Nero. Like you mentioned, Fifth Dimension. Marilyn McCoo was the lead singer, married or engaged to Billy Davis Jr., who was her significant other at the time, and they eventually married in the same year, 1969. They're still married today, so that marriage worked out. I like Marilyn McCoo's voice. I think she did ballads well. She did this song well. They had a string of hits. I know they're kind of right down the middle of the road, soft pop, whatever. But Fifth Dimension were very, very big back in the day. In the let's say from about 67 to 73, they had their share of hits. So that's my number 11.
All right, I'm going to my number 10, which I did have a little higher than you, and that's Sugar Sugar by the Archies. It's kind of like, if you wanted to see an example of what is bubblegum, this would be the song to do. But it can't be that bad a hit, because Wilson Pickett covered this song actually. But and like you said, Don Kirshner, who had worked with the Monkees. Monkees were all wanting to play their own instruments, and he was wanting to bring in studio musicians. So I guess with the Archies, he didn't have the animated characters didn't argue with him to say, well, they wanted to play their own thing or whatever. Yeah. He said he didn't have any problem there. And he said written by Jeff Barry and Andy Kim. Andy Kim would have the big hits, Rock Me Gently later.
Yep.
But I don't know. It's sticks in your. It's a song that you can't get out of your head if you just heard it recently, and
Yeah,
That's it kind of has a nostalgic feel for me, and I
it
kind of like
does. It does. I didn't have it at the bottom anyway. I mean, it's near the bottom, but not quite at the bottom. My number 10 is the other Fifth Dimension song, Aquarius, Let the Sun Shine In, from the musical Hair. 6 weeks at number one, really a monster hit, joyous kind of love fest, hippie song on stage anyway. And then you got the Fifth Dimension and the wild orange and yellow outfits, if you ever see the video doing it. It's got the lyrics, when the moon is in the seventh house and Jupiter aligns with Mars, peace will guide the planets and love will steer the stars. So it was a peace, love kind of vibe. And I always liked it. So I put it in the top 10, right at number 10.
well, my number 9 is probably my favorite song of when they were called Diana Ross and the Supremes, and not just the Supremes, and that's Someday We'll Be Together. If you look at it, in the 60s, the Beatles had 18 number one hits. The Supremes had 12. So they were,
Huge.
in the 60s. And actually only Diana Ross sings on this one. The other two Supremes are not on here. It's two session singers.
Yeah.
This song was written, well, it was originally done by Johnny and Jackie, which wasn't a hit. And then Johnny Bristol helped do the song with Diana Ross. And the little ad libs you hear on the song are actually Johnny Bristol's singing with Diana Ross and kind of egging her on. I think she does a really good job on this one. I really like the sound on this one. I like the violin touches and everything, but I think it's a good Diana Ross song. That's my number 9.
Yeah, it's my number 9 also. I like it a lot too. It's got that fitting title, Someday We'll Be Together, because this was the last of the number one hits for Diana Ross before she broke out and went on her solo career. The lyrics could be read as meaning, the Supremes are breaking up, someday we'll be together, or it was used in causes at that time like the civil rights movement, Vietnam War, that type of thing. And like you mentioned, Mary Wilson and Cindy Birdsong did not appear on the recording. So good number 9 for me. Someday We'll Be Together. Very memorable song.
Right. Here's where I'll lose some people probably. That's my number 8 is Come Together, the Beatles.
Yep.
And I know some people are going to say, well, it's Come Together and Someday or something, which something would be higher for me. But the way they have it listed here is that, we're not doing both sides of the record. So
Right.
Come Together was listed as the A side, and that's the one that they list in the book as being number 1, even though they say something was a number 1 hit too. So I don't know how that works exactly, but so I'm just rating Come Together, which has another of John Lennon's nonsensical lyrics, which I usually like, but this, I don't know, I think it's the toe jam football has always bothered me about this song. I just don't like that. He shot Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
I love the beginning though, where the and then it kind of goes into, I can't do it, but it's got a cool groove, psychedelic textures, the rotary phone kind of sound. And I guess they were sued for the riff because they said it sounded like the Chuck Berry song, You Can't Catch Me, which, I mean, it wasn't Chuck Berry suing them, because it's whoever owned the rights to the Chuck Berry tune. And I did listen to that Chuck Berry tune, and there is some similar sound to it. The flat top part was used in the Chuck Berry song, but that's my number 8 is Come Together, the Beatles.
Yeah, it's a little bit higher for me. My number 8 is Leaving on a Jet Plane, Peter, Paul, and Mary, which I really like. I like all these 8 songs. Written by John Denver, folk song, easy listening, beautiful 3-part harmony, kind of a bittersweet song. Don't Know When I'll Be Back Again, Oh Babe, I Hate to Go. And a lot of the Vietnam guys have a fondness for their song as they were going out overseas and fighting in a war maybe they didn't want to fight in. And they didn't know when they would be back again. So it's the lyrics really hit home to a lot of folks, and it's beautifully done here. I like this version better than the John Denver version, which I have heard, but Mary Travers excels on this one, and the guy's harmonizing. So fantastic song, but it comes in at number 8 for me.
Yeah, it comes in at number 7 for me, Leaving on a Jet Plane, Peter, Paul, and Mary, like you said. This is actually the second album I owned was the best of Peter, Paul, and Mary. So I got to know this song pretty well because, like I said, it was the second song or second album I owned. And like you said, it became kind of a song for, Vietnam people getting drafted and going to Vietnam, and will they come back and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That I think was written more when John Denver is more of kind of a maybe unfaithful guy. Is he going to come back? Because
Right.
So many times I've let you down. So many times I've played around. I'll tell you now, they don't mean a thing. Every place I go, I think of you. Every song I sing, I'll sing for you. When I come back, I'll bring your wedding ring.
Right.
But like you said, it became more of a symbol of the Vietnam War. And the narrator might not make it back, but I like the way they wrap the male voices kind of wrap theirs around
Yes.
Mary Travers. Mary Travers does a beautiful thing on here, but I like how the backing parts too on it. That's my number 7.
Yeah, it's beautifully done. I mean, there's no question. It could have been higher, but just for style purposes, I put it at number 8.
I can't remember. It's Peter Yarrow, Mary Travers is Asher. What?
No, it's Paul Stuckey.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't think of it.
Yeah. Yeah, they were great, no question. My number 7 is Come Together, which you had. I think we flip-flopped our 8 and 7, it looks like. Come Together, the Beatles, From Abbey Road. Crazy lyrics, like you said, nonsensical, Lennon. That it's a total groove. I'm pretty much echoing what you said. Blues rock, that beginning, and fantastic. And then the chorus, Come Together Right Now Over Me. Another one of these unifying calls for love and peace, which were in vogue at the time. And the way I understand it is this was actually the B side. Something was the A side, but for some reason in the charts, something made it to number 3, and this one became a number 1 hit. I don't know how that works either, but whether it's radio play or sales requests, but however they do their charts, something was a number 3 hit, and Come Together was a number 1 hit, and then we're on the same record. So you figure it out. I don't know.
All right. Well, something would have been higher for me if that would have been the one.
It probably would have been for me too.
All right. So it looks like we have the top 6 are all the same.
Yeah, isn't that cool? Yep.
And these were really hard for me because I thought these are all great songs.
Yep.
And number 6 I put is I Can't Get Next to You by the Temptations. I love how it starts out where he goes, hold it, listen. And then the piano and the whole stems and he goes, and it's like Eddie Kendricks does that high voice. I can turn your gray sky blue, and then the deep Paul Williams. I can make it rain whenever I want to. It's really cool how it begins. Norman Whitfield, who had started working with the group, I guess he had heard the Sly and the Family Stone sound, and he kind of pushed the Temptations into a kind of a psychedelic soul.
Yep.
And did a really great job of it. And love the drums, the congas, the tambourines on here. It seems like if you have a Motown hit, you got to have a tambourine on there. I don't think it's almost like it was required. And then all 5 Temptations have different singing parts in there. So it's a really cool song, really funky. And when I started thinking, I go, maybe I should have had this up higher. But I put it at number 6.
I have it a few notches higher. My number 6 is the other Beatles song, Get Back. Of course, I love, but got to put it somewhere. McCartney, we saw McCartney create this out of thin air in the documentary. It's amazing how this song came together. You see it, and 50 years later, when they're working on it in the studio, he's sitting there, and all of a sudden, it just takes off and becomes the song it was. They perform it on the rooftop. You got JoJo and Loretta and all these characters in there, and great guitar work by George Harrison, Billy Preston on piano. It doesn't appear on the album until the next year, Let It Be in 1970, but this was the single that was released, and just a fantastic song. But I have five that I like just a little bit more, and they're going to be in my top five. Get Back is number 6 for me.
Well, my number 5 is Honky Tonk Woman by the Rolling Stones. I guess it became out of a song called Country Hunk, which was kind of a country with Mick singing this exaggerated, like Southern type voice. And Keith Richards says it's really the same song, but they transformed it into this wonderful rock song. And like a lot of Rolling Stone songs, it's kind of about sex.
Oh,
Yeah, you got
Yep,
the first verse, and he's in Memphis with a prostitute or a working girl. The second verse, he's in New York with a divorcee, and then the third verse, he's in Paris with some sailors. I don't know about that part, but like clanking cowbell, love that. Charlie Watts kind of got some funky drumming. You got Keith Richards with this blues tinged guitar. And this came out actually the day after Brian Jones had died.
wow.
And the only thing I can think of is that then who is this honky tonk woman that they can't get off their mind? But after you hear all the different verses on there, but great song. That's my number 5.
Yeah, my number 5 is The King, Elvis Presley, Suspicious Minds. Really like this song. Just a great pop song about the mistrust in a relationship. We can't go on together with suspicious minds. We're caught in a trap. I can't walk out because I love you too much, baby. It's that dynamic of, or you're stuck in or between a rock and a hard place, so to speak. Was his 18th and last number 1 hit in the US. So I only made it 1 week. I thought it was a bigger, longer stretch at number 1, but 1 week at number 1 in 69. And it was sort of a comeback in a way, because most of his big stuff was in the late 50s, early 60s. And then he had that 68 comeback special on TV with the leather suit, and became a Vegas, staple. And then he comes out with Suspicious Minds, which I remember as a kid. It was a great song. So that's my number 5.
All right. My number 4 is a song you had, Get Back, the Beatles. Only song on the single to also list another artist on there. It says, the Beatles with Billy Preston.
That's right. Yep.
And it kind of does a little bit of Fats Domino within the song. And you had JoJo and Sweet Loretta Martin as 2 of the characters in here.
Yep.
They kind of put some hippie culture into the song. Like, I haven't seen the documentary, so I didn't really see all the, how
You will love it when you do see it. Yeah, it's great.
But it's a great tune, really catchy, and that's my number 4.
All right. My number 4 is one you had, I think it either 6 or 7. I Can't Get Next to You by the Temptations. Just the Temptations are my favorite group from Motown, ahead of the Supremes, ahead of the Four Tops, although I love them all. And they had changed their style. Maybe it was the Norman Whitfield influence, where they're getting more funky and trying some experiments with their arrangements and stuff. But I love this song. The blend of voices is what sets it apart, where you have all the guys contributing. Eddie Kendricks, Dennis Edwards was the new lead vocalist after David Ruffin had left, and just combines funk, soul, R&B, psych. Everything's in there. I like the lyrics too. I mean, they're simple, but they're classic Motown. I can take I can turn the gray sky blue. I can make it rain whenever I want it to. I can build a castle from a single grain of sand. I can make a ship sail on dry land. But my life is incomplete, and I'm so blue because I can't get next to you. I mean, that's beautifully writ poetry, really.
Yeah.
In not using any fancy words, just using basic words to convey thoughts and imagery. And I think it's fantastic. So that's my number 4.
All right. My number 3 is Crimson and Clover by Tommy James and the Shondells. Kind of a psychedelic pop masterpiece. got these half thought out lyrics, but it just flows so well. It got these shimmering vocals. I like how it begins.
Yeah.
So it starts out, and there's so many tempo changes within this song that it's really cool. Got the echoey guitars that kind of match the echoey vocals,
Yep.
like the tremolo effect he does with his voice. It's really, really cool. You got the drums, the guitars, the keys, and the voice, like they're all kind of in a trance almost in the song. And I guess a lot of people say if you listen to the Velvet Underground Sweet Jane, it sounds like they might have been listening to this song. And Joan Jett remade it and kind of had a bit of a hit with hers. But great song. It's my number 3, Crimson and Clove.
Great. My number 3 is Honky Tonk Women by the Stones. 4 weeks at number 1. It was a single, wasn't on a studio album at that time. And like you said, it's all mostly about sex, but sex, drugs, rock and roll. That was the epitome of what the Stones were doing all the way from that period on, really. I love the lyric too. I met a gin-soaked barroom queen in Memphis. She tried to take me upstairs for a ride, and then she blew my nose, then she blew my mind. I mean, you can read anything you want into that, but just fantastic, edgy. I love the cowbell part as well. And the band was at their peak for me back in this era. They had brought on Mick Taylor as the other guitarist. Brian Jones was sort of thrown out of the band at that point, and he died, like you said, right before it. So unbelievable. I love Honky Tonk Women. What easily in my top 5 Stone songs of all time, and I have it number 3 for the number 1 hits of '69. So now we're down to the big 2.
All right. My number 2 is Suspicious Minds, Elvis Presley. Probably my favorite Elvis Presley song is from the Sun Sessions, Trying to Get to You. And this is probably my second favorite Elvis Presley song, Suspicious Minds. I just think it's wonderful. And in fact, you mentioned the comeback special.
Yeah.
Well, in the comeback special, he did do Trying to Get to You in that outfit that he was wearing. And he kind of resurrected his career. And I think he did some great tunes after that comeback special, before he kind of went back to the Vegas.
Yeah.
Right. But this is kind of like Frank Sinatra and the way he can phrase.
Yep.
His words in this song, I think the phrasing is great. I saw Dave Marsh called it Hillbilly Jerry Butler. I don't know what he means by that, but he was the writer for Rolling Stone. But,
yeah.
I love this song, written by Mark James. I guess it was for his girlfriend or wife. I can't remember which one it was. And about, the feelings about, is she messing, or is she messing around, or
right?
Does she not trust me? And, the Suspicious Minds. But anyway, that's Chips Moman, who worked with the Box Tops, and William Wilson Pickett was the producer. But that's just a great song by Elvis.
Very much so. Yeah, I had it at number 5. You got it at number 2. It's a classic. My number 2 is Everyday People by Sly and the Family Stone. Psychedelic soul. They were a funk band pretty much, but the message of this song is what sells it. I mean, it's a call for peace, equality among everybody, different strokes for different folks, and so on and so on, and Scooby Dooby Doo, all that stuff. I just love the whole vibe of the song. And he screams, "We gotta live together." And then, there is a brown one who doesn't like the green one, and they're using all these colors, and they can't accept the red one for living with the white one, the fat one, the skinny one, all that stuff back and forth. I just love the song. I recently saw them perform that on the Summer of Soul documentary, which won the best Oscar. They were one of the acts, and they were in their prime then. Great song. Everyday People, which I'm assuming is your number 1, because I haven't heard it yet. So that's my number 2.
Yeah, it's going to be my number 1, Everyday People, Sly and the Family Stone. The fusion of psychedelia and soul, like the Temptations were trying to copy off them. But when he sings about everyday people, and he talks it talks about my own beliefs are in my song. It was with the group too, because it was a mixed group.
That's right.
You had women, you had black and white,
Yep.
and really the song's about the healing power of music. And like you said, different strokes for different folks became a catchword from this song.
Yeah.
We even had a TV show that called itself Different Strokes. But and this was 1969 when all this stuff was going on. He was trying to make a song of coming together. Love the great horns, the fuzz guitar, the bass and drums really locked in together in this. And if you see him in person, you like how they're having so much fun playing this song.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's my number one, Everyday People.
And it was like a family too, because I think his sister and brother were in the band as well. And then they had the white drummer and the horn section. A couple of women in the song. One might have been his cousin. And I think his sister Rose was part of the group, and his brother, I forget, Freddie Stone. So it was a really a fantastic band. That's probably my favorite song of theirs overall when I think about it. Everyday People. My number one is the one left, Crimson and Clover, Tommy James and the Shondells. Like you said, and I have it written down exactly the way you said it. Psychedelic pop masterpiece. That's what it is. Very trippy sonically, the way they use the echoing and the reverberation, and you feel like you're in a tunnel somewhere where it's over and over, over and over. And the title comes from Tommy James' favorite color, crimson, and his favorite flower, clover. And they combine that and come up with this absolute memorable song. I can't get enough of it. I mean, I could put it on now and be singing along. It's a great song. I like Tommy James and the Shondells too. I'm surprised they didn't have a longer career. I don't know what stopped them from going on in the 70s. Once the 60s hit, they were pretty much done. They had some of those goofball hits early on, like Hanky Panky, Mony Mony, and I think We're Alone Now, which is kind of a lovey pop song. And I like what's the other one? Crystal Blue Persuasion, which came out in '69 as well. Really good array of tunes. So that will wrap up our countdown. Now we're going to get into the 5 songs that we liked that didn't make number one anywhere that charted. So you go first with your 5.
Well, I had to have one by this group because they had 3 songs that went to number 2 and 1 song that went to number 3, but they didn't hit number 1 for some reason. That's CCR, Creedence Clearwater Revival. I'm going to pick Bad Moon Rising because it's so iconic and everybody knows that song.
Yeah.
But that's going to be one of mine. Another one was, which, like I said, made it to number 2. A Whole Lot of Love by Led Zeppelin made it to number 4. Great Led Zeppelin tune. One of my favorites of theirs.
Yeah.
Number 3 would be the third one. I was Lay Lady Lay, Bob Dylan, which made it to number 7. Probably sings in the most acceptable voice for a lot of people. A lot of people don't like Bob Dylan's voice. They could probably stand this one, because he has that kind of country-ish voice that he uses on this one. Number 4 would be my favorite Simon and Garfunkel song that only made it to number 7. That's The Boxer. And then 5, I gotta have a Who song on here. The Who's Pinball Wizard only made it to number 19 from the great music or rock opera of Tommy.
Yeah, those are all great songs. My 5 here, I'm going to go, like you said, I had to have a CCR, one of their number 2 songs. I took Green River, it's probably my favorite CCR tune. I went with the Zombies' Time of the Season at which made it to number 3. I love that song too. What's Your Name? Who's Your Daddy? Is He Rich Like Me? I went with the Youngbloods Get Together at number 5. Great song. Another one of these late 60s anthems, trying to get people to smile on your brother, get together. I also have The Boxer, Simon and Garfunkel's classic at made it to number 7. Might be my favorite Simon and Garfunkel song. It's usually way up there. And my last pick made it to number 12. Again, the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley, If I Can Dream, which is one of my favorite Elvis songs. I love that song. So that's another one that's talking about the times and, dreaming of a better world for everybody. So that will do it. Those are my 5. Really enjoyed it as usual. We'll look forward to 1970 as we end the decade here of the 60s. That was fun. There's going to be some good ones in 1970. I can tell you that already.
Yeah.
So for Randall Nelson, check his channel out too. I like to plug Randy's channel. One of the best collections out there of vinyl. I always say that, but it's true because I'm astounded every time I see what you're pulling out and showing, because I can't touch it. I'm very narrow-minded when it comes to music, and you seem to spread out and show a lot of different cool stuff. So Randall Nelson, I'll leave his link in the comments below or in the description below. So please subscribe to him if you haven't already. We'll be back next week with 1970. Like, subscribe, leave some comments. We'll give you some responses as well. We like the feedback, and I like to see what's on, what order you would have some of these #1 songs. Some of the ones that we buried, do you like them better than the ones we put at the top? So that kind of interaction is fun. So for Randy, this is Rich. We'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.